The Mannin Line with Andy Wint.
That's my good afternoon. Welcome to Mannin Line on Manx Radio. Your chance to have your say. Call 66 13 68. Something you'd like to talk about. You could email studio@manxradio.com or WhatsApp or message. Same number 166 177. Although if you WhatsApp, you'll need us in your contacts. Lots and lots of messages we didn't get to yesterday, so I'll just run through a few until I talk about Alaman Bank again. Regarding Manx Care, says Andy, if there were an accident, say 6 critical injuries, would the government have an emergency ban on cars being driven? This is after the Southern Hundred was halted the other night because Noble's hospital apparently was full. Andy says, regarding de-scoping, what will prevent that happening to a new southern swimming pool from a replacement Castle Russian school plan? Well, what will prevent it, Andy, is, well, nothing could prevent it it's just where the politicians wanted it. We found out that the horse trams were due to go from Derby Castle to the sea terminal, but at a whim, at an instruction, were stopped, although Tynwald had given approval for the money to put the horse trams through to the sea terminal, and it was just stopped. You may have remember when Charles Gard was on Mannin Line talking about that, he very ruefully said, there's nothing you can do about it. If the politicians choose to change things, there's nothing we can do apart from wait until a general election and show our feelings. Forget road racing implications. What message is given to 15,000 prospective new residents? 2 or 3 casualties and our hospital is off limits, says G313. Let's go to Dr. Allenson now. This is Tony, who just said 68% of people are in favour of assisted dying by those who were surveyed, but were neglected to mention the questionable use of language and demographics used to get the response. We really need a referendum on this very important issue. Thank you, Tony, for that message. For reference, by the way, bank staff don't get discounted rates. They get the same rates and fees as customers. We were talking about the steam packet and the perks that are given to employees and staff who get discounted travel. And somebody mentioned that happens in lots of industries, but this texter 915 says not in banks. Regarding assisted dying, says D, 60% of the whole population, or was it 60% of people old enough to vote? And Janie said, how does Dr. Allenson reckon that 66% of 1,200 people makes a majority of islanders? He talks of a silent majority, but he can't know what that number is. It's an opportunity for a public vote with full information about how assisted deaths and suicide would look should they be offered, says Janie. And regarding the assisted dying bill, it's had a debate in the House of Keys, but the consequences haven't been relayed to the public. We're going to be a laughing stock with a bill supported by a silent majority with no public mandate and no public engagement and no meetings, says 572. Our MHK says there's a silent majority for assisted dying. This is Simon who dropped a note in. Then why did they vote down a referendum which would actually show if it is true? Possibly they should refrain from speculating and just allow the referendum for it. You may remember yesterday we were talking about the bounty for wildlife, for catching wildlife yesterday, the money and the cartridges, the shotgun cartridges that you would get for killing wildlife years ago. And 610 said, my great-grandfather used to trap and humanely dispose of the wild men of Upper Foxdale. Very pesky, apparently. Thank you, 610. He didn't, by the way. Remember about 35 years ago, Port Jack Beach, I was down there one evening and apparently the place was alive with longtails. Don't know what it's like now, says 795. With respect, some MHKs have connections to old people's homes. Are they the ones who are against assisted dying, says Pammy. And David's with us first. Hi, David.
Hi, Andy. Just want to talk. You had a news item which I couldn't pick up again, but maybe you'll remember it, where the government are now saying they will give a preference to shopping local or buying supplies local.
Yes, that was on yesterday.
Was it on yesterday? Well, I couldn't find it and pick it back up, so I was just going to say that's a well done. I don't know who thought about it. You didn't have to be a rocket scientist to say if we shop local, we do get more benefit into the economy. And I just wondered, the likes we've still got, how do they publicise this now, and how does the government departments engage? Because I know certain government departments through the AG's office say to departments, you've got to go for the cheapest. And then what do? They search the internet and get a supplier from Liverpool, Manchester or Scotland. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
I'm missing out.
Yeah, and you just wonder why that is. I mean, is it just a kind of blind adherence to process?
It's probably because it's quicker to click on the internet and say, I want 100 masks for the hospital, and where's the cheaper to get these? And instead of going to the local suppliers, there's loads of them. I won't mention a few, but the Gellings is definitely one of them. And I remember Gellings eggs as well, not for masks as such, but, local suppliers who are in the business in farming. If we don't support the farmers on the bits and pieces they do, they'll struggle.
Well, as you say, if government catering schools and what have you were to specify they should use Manx providers, that would revolutionise some people's businesses. If they were guaranteed work and contracts throughout the year, surely they could then work on that. They could build on it.
It's fairly simple. And I just wonder myself where your board of directors should be doing something as well as Manx Radio, saying, publicising, not maybe for free, but doing special deals for local suppliers to say, well, if you're shopping for this, that or the other, or try us first, little bits like that, and we'll make a great profit. And don't forget, these banks are going to rely on us, aren't they, to have businesses?
Oh, yes.
And that's the way I look at it. Well, maybe if you're not the Alaman Bank, and that's a criticism. Okay.
Right.
Penny's not back on the road yet either.
Oh, no, Penny's still very sick, apparently.
I just wonder whether we could find out what make it is. I was trying to figure out what badge is on the front, and maybe if we could get a new battery from a local supplier.
That is what.
We get a local.
What is Penny? I'm trying to recall. Is it a Renault?
I don't know. I tried to zoom in on a photograph. I'm sad. I was looking the other day on a photograph. It said that Penny's not in action again. And I just wonder whether we should have a campaign to get Penny back on her feet, and up and running.
All right. Okay. Thanks for that. Good to hear from you.
Bye-bye.
So we need to know, apparently Penny is a Ford Transit Luton type. So and that can't be too difficult to get Penny back. You don't think Alaman Bank is just hanging on for a bit because they can't afford the spares? Who knows? Anyway, Penny is not where she should be. Yes, the Treasury Minister's announced significant changes to government procurement policies aimed at supporting Manx businesses. These changes will allow the government to favour Isle of Man-based businesses in contract awards. Council of Ministers agreed to reserve contracts below the World Trade Organisation tender threshold for Isle of Man-based businesses. Under this new policy, up to 94% of Manx government spending opportunities, potentially £50 million annually, could be directed to the Manx economy. This move is a positive outcome of Brexit, which allows the Isle of Man to support Manx businesses, something that wasn't possible under previous EU procurement rules. So we're now under WTO and not EU. 94% of government spending opportunities can go to Manx businesses. Got any thoughts? Text, email, call, WhatsApp. Tula is with us. Hi, Tula.
Hi.
Hello.
Hello. Can you hear me okay?
Loud and clear, so can the audience. Speak up. You're on.
Very good. Very good. Yeah, I'm just querying the Deemster's decision regarding Sean Council allowing him to pursue his claim for PTSD against the ACU.
Well, the Deemster's allowing it, isn't he?
Yes, he is, yeah, which seems very strange because after Sean Council was involved in the incident in 2007, the inquiry, following obviously the people who got killed, and obviously there was a full inquiry, he was told by the judge or the Deemster, I'm not sure of the technical term who it was, that he was never to be involved in motorsport again. So strangely, 11 years later, he's now involved in another incident.
Oh, well, I didn't know anything about that.
Right. Well, the full transcript is available if you go onto courts, Isle of Man courts. But he was told he should never be involved in motorsport ever again. So why the ACU continued to actually allow him to be involved in motorsport seems rather strange. But obviously, those of us who were marshalling in Sector 7 at the time, who had to live through that whole incident, so if Sean Council is allowed to go for PTSD, a group of our marshals are now also going to go for PTSD because we still talk about it every year.
Is that official, Tula? Are a group of you going to do that?
Yes, we are. We certainly are, yes, because obviously Sean Council was paid. We as marshals, obviously, as you know, are volunteers, and we every year, before I lived in the Isle of Man, every year we met up on Solby Craddock, the whole conversation turned to the incident with Sean Council and Steve Mercer, who obviously has been settled out of court. So that side of it will never be known because he settled out of court for whatever reason, so that will never be a public document, whereas the 2007 incident where Hilary Musson lost her leg, a spectator died, a marshal died, the rider died, that is a matter of public fact, and you can go and check those records. It's available through the Isle of Man Courts of Justice. But regarding Steve Mercer, that will never be a public document. So it just seems a very, very sad situation to be in, and particularly I've been marshalling the 700 the last 2 days, and obviously we've had a few incidents, and hopefully it's going to go ahead tonight, but who knows? The lovely weather of the Isle of Man.
Yes.
But yeah, it's we all have standing out there getting wet, and but no, it is just a very shame that someone is going to sue. He was doing a job, and whatever happened. But the marshals who were involved, they never had any counselling. There was no support given to any of the marshals at the time. And we all knew, the cars coming one way and the bikes were going the other way. So what was going to happen? It's pretty obvious, isn't it? Something was going to go wrong at some point.
Okay, Tula, keep us up to speed, but keep us up to speed with what's happening. It'll be interesting to know. And good luck tonight, by the way.
Will do. Yeah, thank you very much, and love your programme.
Thanks for calling today. We appreciate it.
Bye.
Thank you, Tula. The TT Course Inspection Officer has been told he can proceed with his claim against his former bosses following a serious incident which he claims left him with psychological injuries. The High Court of Justice in the Isle of Man's ruled that Sean Council's civil case against the Autocycle Union Limited and ACU Events Limited can continue despite the two organisations' efforts to have it struck out. The hearing was before Deemster John Needham, and he's dismissed the argument, which had been based on the application being out of time. Mr. Council was involved in a serious racing incident during a qualifying session at the TT on the 30th of May. that it was been red flagged due to a fatal collision at Churchtown. Mr. Counsel had been tasked with transporting 2 police officers to the scene in a course inspection vehicle. He claimed that he travelled in the normal direction of racing, having been told by the race control that the other racers on the course had been immobilised and it was safe to enter. On approach to Balacry, Mr. Counsel encountered a group of competitors who were travelling at speed in the opposite direction to normal racing. The court heard that he then had a head-on collision with Steve Mercer. Mr. Counsel submitted a claim for damages for psychological injuries that he suffered. That was done in December 2022, more than 4.5 years after the collision. He claimed he'd suffered an onset of post-traumatic stress disorder and other injuries. His claim was in excess of the usual 3-year limitation for bringing such action, but Mr. Counsel opposed this argument, saying the significance of his psychological injuries wasn't known until March 2020, meaning the claim was brought in time. So, how did the Autocycle Union Limited and ACU Events Limited respond? Their advocates claim Mr. Counsel knew of his psychological injuries well in advance of March 2020, adding it was fanciful, their word, to suggest otherwise. However, ruling against the ACU, Deemster Needham said they'd still retain the ability to defend the case, and you can go to maxradio.com and see the full details of that case. Any thoughts? Text, email, call on WhatsApp. I was going to ask you for some photos yesterday, and also I've got a very dispiriting, disappointing story about Isle of Man Bank, and it's not merely about Penny, the mobile bank. But first, Tony's with us. Hi, Tony.
How you doing, Andy?
Fine, thanks. Yeah, I wish the fog would lift.
Yeah, I wish the government would start doing what it's supposed to be doing. Instead of running around for 7 days with a private member's bill, which even if it passes, won't let anybody get euthanasia or be basically killed, because the law won't let it. So my first issue with this whole thing is, this was a private member's bill. It's totally in the wrong time frame. They should have gone ahead and asked for an island mandate. First of all, the first thing to say, can we do this? Just like they should have asked for an island mandate to get rid of the bishop's vote.
Do you think then, in the 2021 election, people should have put this in their manifesto and said, I intend to bring forward a private member's bill for assisted dying, or I intend to bring forward a private member's bill to get rid of the voting of the bishop in Timwell? Do you think that would have worked in a manifesto?
That would have been something they should have put forward, but they also then, before they put forward their private member's bill, because it's structural as far as the government's concerned, and in the case of the dying bill, it's basically changing the way that the whole of the medical system operates, and your suicide situation, which many people have been on, particularly, I think, is it Peter Karen or one of the Karen, the lawyer, came on and told them quite clearly, this is completely wrong. You've got the cart before the horse here. You need to, first of all, one, get the law to allow you to do this, because right now you can't. And secondly, he should have gone and got a mandate. They all should have gone and got a mandate. You know, how can you say that, we've got a majority of people out of 1,200, what's the voting total for the Isle of Man? It's not 1,200 people. That's not a mandate at all. That's just smoke and mirrors. They're a disgrace. We are in a situation where we are desperately trying to pay bills, and we've got a 2% increase in our taxes because the person in charge of Treasury is basically incompetent and can't work out that we should be taxing people with more money than before we start taxing people with no money. When the cost of living is going up, again, Treasury's done everything they possibly can except put the tax up. And as far as the health service is concerned, that's a disgrace. They want more money, and yet what do they spend it on? We'll have 2 people doing the same job and we'll let one of them work in the UK. And I won't tell you what the impact is because I don't want to. And that was in Tynwald. He should have been held in contempt of Tynwald. He should have been forced to answer the question. And the answer is obvious, because he doesn't want to answer it. They're paying 2 salaries for the same job to 2 different people. So, give him more money, what's he going to do? Waste it. The government should all turn around and look at themselves in the mirror and ask themselves what they're supposed to be doing. They're not supposed to be working for a week on private members' bills and spending a fortune, an absolute fortune, on research to find out what they can and can't do. The first thing that should have been done was ask the people of the Isle of Man, not the voters necessarily, because not everybody will vote, but the people in general, what do you think of this idea? Once you've got a response from everybody, which is how it should be, we should change the law and say, if there is a referendum, you need to respond one way or the other. That would give them the mandate to be able to do something about it. Now, whether they're competent enough to do it, another question. But we're just wasting a huge amount of money, a huge amount of time, and don't get me wrong, I'm not against the idea of having a bill or a law that allows people to get relief from a long-term illness. But the way they're going about it is, as usual, we'll get the cart out and we'll put the horse at the back of the cart and see if it'll push it. It's just, I just give up. When are they going to wake up and realise they're not doing their jobs?
Well,
any thoughts?
Well, what's next then? What's next? Because obviously members of the House of Keys are perfectly at liberty to bring forward private members' bills. I mean, do you think but having said that, when Mr. Hooper was on Mannin Line, he said, everybody else is making the fuss about the Bishop's vote, not me.
Because he shouldn't be actually putting that forward. Because he has no mandate from the people to put it forward. And he doesn't seem to think he needs a mandate. Once he's voted in, I'll just do what I want. Ergo, he doesn't answer the question when he's asked in Tynwald, what's the impact of the cost of having 2 people doing the same job? I'm not going to answer that. Go back and listen to it. It's appalling. We have a minister who won't answer a question because he doesn't want to.
Okay, all right.
I mean, I just give up, I do. It's getting worse and worse. And they're wasting our tax money doing this on their little projects. Good luck, Andy.
Thanks for calling, Tony.
I hope somebody's listening in government. Alf Cannon hopefully will actually do something this time. Take care. Bye.
Good to hear from you. John said some good news. A concerned nation seeks news of the Port Erin bathing rafts. Your listeners can be reassured the summer has officially arrived in Port Erin, as 2 of the 3 bathing rafts are in the water today, ready for the Port Erin Beach Festival this weekend. Hope the weather holds out for Port Erin. Manx Radio is going to be there. Only lots of popcorn. Only 1 raft remains anchored on dry land. Some good news, says John, for the Isle of Man. 2 of the 3 bathing rafts at Port Erin are in the water. And Wilf's with us now. Hi, Wilf.
I've got a copy of the Examiner in front of me here, and I'm just looking at this revised plan for the 40 million Riverside development.
Yeah.
That's the Sulby River thing.
Yeah.
I can't read it all, of course, obviously, because I haven't time for that, but it said a spine road was proposed as part of the scheme that would double as a flood barrier, and the developers argue that the site should be flood-free even in the event of a once-in-200-year flooding event of 6.5 metres. Now, where does that 6.5 metres, is that from ground up, or is that on top of the water we've already got? I don't know, but 6.5 metres would put Ramsey in the water, I think. Anyway, and it says, Bly's revised application is for outline consent only, with the aim of securing clarity on the proposed future use of the site. It does not request planning permission for a given number of houses, and therefore there should be no details of what the houses may look like. There is no spine road defined in the new application, although its preferred application is given as a notional line separating the north and the south of the site. Don't understand that, but anyway, the developers say the revised proposals have been met with almost unanimous public support following 2 weeks of consultation. I never heard of any of this consultation. I wasn't invited to it anyway, and I haven't seen anything about it or anybody said anything about it, so I don't know where this was supposed to be. Anyway, they have stressed that they are not proposing to build on the salt marsh, which would be impossible anyway, Poultry Nature Reserve or the river's edge, and that the focus is on land zoned for development on the edge of the town centre. Well, none of this is next to the town centre. The town centre, I would say, would be around about the town hall, the town centre. But anyway, project developer Just here said, our first set of proposals were also met favourably by the majority. I don't know anybody that met favourably. Everybody was against it as far as I was concerned. Anyway, but there were some concerns around ecology and flood mitigation. So this revised application takes them on board. Well, nobody got hold of me to ask me about what I knew about the floods. But anyway, the consultation was managed by local architects Cornerstone, with public invited to view the proposals over 2 weeks at the firm's offices. Well, I haven't seen that, so I must go down the street and see can I see some of this.
What chance has this got of being passed, do you think, Wilf?
Well, if it was up to me, there'd be no chance, but then that's not up to me. This is up to the experts who don't even live here and never seen anything, but they're the experts, you see. Now Tony was. I know Tony. I knew his father, and Tony was supposed to meet in a meeting last Wednesday, but his father died in the meantime, so that was cancelled. But he says here that once people properly understood the scheme, they were very supportive. Well, I must see if I can find some of these people.
All right. Supportive. So that's in the Examiner today, is it?
That's the Examiner, yeah.
All right, okay. So rather than you read it out to everybody, they can go buy a copy of the Examiner.
Yeah, it's done now anyway. I've read the most important bits.
All right, okay. Well, thanks for that.
Yeah, okay.
Good to hear from you. Pick up the Examiner, remember. From Derby Castle to the sea terminal, the horse trams are going to be free, says Paul. Well, it'd be nice, wouldn't it? Yes, people are telling me that Penny is on Ford Transit. Apparently, got a message, Penny is on the road, but Penny's been seen in Kirkmichael. Moving at all or just parked? Thanks also to you're presuming that Penny is at fault, not the bank. Oh, it could be that the bank's not working inside Penny. Well, it's not working as a whole, put it that way. Or is she? Who knows? Who knows? Maybe Penny is there. We must have a public referendum, says Dave, on a sister dying before any more money spent on this. Our politicians can't be trusted to make this decision. They say they can't say a majority do or don't want it without the population being asked, says Dave. Thank you, Dave. Yes, but we do elect politicians to make laws. And sometimes people disagree with those laws. Sometimes people agree with the laws. But we elect politicians, the private members' bills are perfectly legitimate form of legislation. They're what they are, private members' bills. So, Dr. Allinson, I remember, respected, very experienced medical practitioner, has put this forward. I mean, it's worth noting Dr. Allinson has seen death many, many times. He's a GP. He's seen death. He's seen everything from birth to death and everything in between. So Dr. Allinson is acting out of the best motives. He knows all about it. He has a professional background. This is what he thinks. And he is an elected politician. Thanks also to the government's twisting the truth in regard to procurement process. Look into it. It's got very little to do with the EU and everything to do with MHKs having an eye on the election. Thank you, Adam.
Been anywhere nice, love?
Yeah, I've just had a wonderful weekend away with my granddaughter, and I didn't spend a penny. I traded in some gold jewellery, watches, silverware and old cameras with Vintage Cash Cow.
Vintage Cash Cow?
That's the one. They pay a fair price for all kinds of antiques and collectibles, and these were just collecting dust in my garage. Visit vintagecashcow.co.uk to order your free postage pack.
Give your home a facelift with Manx Glass and Glazing. Whether choosing aluminium or UPVC in traditional or contemporary styles, you can be sure of excellent workmanship and guarantees. Members of Construction Isle of Man and family run for over 30 years, Manx Glass and Glazing are committed to the local community, and they invest in future generations through their apprenticeship scheme. Visit the impressive showroom on Snugborough Trading Estate. Trust Manx Glass and Glazing. Quality and style since 1986.
Hello, I'd like to rent a car for 3 days. Just something reasonable.
No problem at all. We've just a few rules. You can't go off island, you can't smile in the car, you can't take any friends. Oh, and it's £10,000 a day.
Renting a car doesn't need to be difficult or expensive. With prices from just £50 per day and now collection and drop-off at the airport and Douglas, speak to Rex Rental Company or book online at rexrental.im.
Rex Rentals. I'm so glad to hear that.
Welcome to the Miller Chaps of Ramsey Summer Sale, where you'll find fabulous reductions throughout the store, from beds and flooring to sofas, cane furniture and accessories, rugs, pictures, mirrors and even wallpapers. Plus, the friendly Miller Chaps team are here as always with a warm welcome and expert help and advice when needed. Don't miss the Miller Chaps of Ramsey Summer Sale. Now on.
Creating a home where you'll love to be. Miller Chaps of Ramsey.
Until the 14th of July, you have the chance to win an LG 65-inch TV, courtesy of Waltons. Each week on the Manx Radio Facebook page will be a scrambled footballer's name. All you have to do is identify the person. To enter, tune in each weekday evening to Greatest Hits or Saturday Live, where we will announce a window of opportunity and you will have 5 minutes to text your answer and your full name to 166 177. The winner will be announced on Monday the 15th of July, so keep listening for your chance to win with Waltons and your nation station, Manx Radio.
The Mannin Line with Andy Wint.
Now, Isle of Man Bank. You remember we heard Isle of Man Bank are taking action to review the language and tone of its communications with customers during the collection of updated due diligence and tax data from them. This is concerns by a number of long-standing customers over what's been described as unacceptably aggressive tones in emails, letters and text. Now, this has nothing to do with closing an account or changing an account or updating an account, but Terry dropped me a note in from Port Erin who said, I lost my wife earlier on this year. We've been married for 32 years. And she had an Isle of Man bank account. In fact, she still has got an Isle of Man bank account. It has money in it. I contacted the bank, asked them what I should do to get probate to obviously square the affairs off, filled all the forms, went into the bank, didn't get an appointment that day, had to go back another day and get an appointment. Now it's been dealt with, guess where? From Jersey. Having to deal with the death of my wife, resolving all the affairs, with a call centre in Jersey. To date, I have waited without response for 7 hours. A total of 7 hours. As yet, nobody can do anything on the Isle of Man. I've asked them on the Isle of Man. They simply point me to Jersey. We aim to resolve all customer issues, they say. And yet, 7 hours waiting on a phone line and nothing. Says Terry, quite who they think they are, I don't know. And I was close to losing my temper in the branch, which would have got me nowhere and probably would have got me probably banned from the branch for inappropriate behaviour. So what do I do? Can anybody help Terry? How does he resolve this issue? Getting the money out of his late wife's account, filling all the forms out with Isle of Man Bank. On a more pleasing subject, Paul W. said, I got my tickets for Paolo Nutini online. Thanks to all the staff at the Villa for putting on what's going to be definitely an amazing event. Thank you for that, Paul. Yes, they all sold out for Paolo Nutini. And he's not exactly prolific, is he, Paolo Nutini? It took him 8 years to get an album from 2008 onwards, but 2014, wasn't it, to 2022. But anyway, we wish him well, and if you're going to see Paolo Nutini, hope you've got a pencil full of lead. Candy's with us now. Hi, Candy.
Hi, Andy. It's such a horrible wet day today, and it reminds me that just after TT, I actually looked up to see if such a thing existed, and that is road dryers. I feel that the government should actually possibly look into the possibility of hiring road dryers so that when it does stop raining, they can actually get on with some racing for Southern 100, MGP and TT.
Do road dryers exist? Are there such things as road dryers?
Yes, there are. I looked it up. They are, and apparently at circuits, quite a lot of the racing circuits, they have them so that they can dry the roads out, the surface out.
So what are they? Are they big blowers, or is it a big towel that's on it?
No, Andy, they're not big towels. They're blowers. They hook up onto the back of, you just hook them onto the back of and tow them along, and they actually dry off the road. And I think that it is something that the government should actually seriously be looking at, because quite honestly, the number of bikers who went away after TT totally disappointed because there was no racing, because there are damp patches at Glen Helen under the trees and things like that. And then Southern 100, I mean, good grief, have they actually managed to get a race? Have they actually managed? Because it's been wet as anything, hasn't it? Really. And we've got MGP coming up.
How much are these things? I trust you've done your research. How much do they cost?
I don't know. I know you can hire them. I didn't go that much. I'm not planning to add it onto my hire stock, dear. We're busy enough doing marquees as it is. But I do feel that perhaps somebody in the government maybe should look at whether or not it's worth hiring in, because they do bring lots of vehicles in for putting out the traffic cones when they're doing TV, don't they? So they could actually bring in a couple of the road dryers and just have them at pertinent points to dry off the wet patches and then get on with the racing.
Candy, that's an absolutely inspired idea.
Thank you, my dear. Well, I'm full of inspired ideas, aren't I?
All right. Thanks for calling. Good to hear from you.
No worries. Take care. Cheers, Andy.
Cheers. Now, 16 minutes before 1 on Manx Radio. Just a word, if you're thinking of going to Tesco, they've stopped letting people into Lake Road in Douglas. Apparently, the tills have stopped working. Now, we don't know whether this is just Lake Road in Douglas or whether it's across the Isle of Man. If you're shopping in one of those stores and they're having problems getting the tills working, then let us know. But certainly, Lake Road in Tesco. Don't try Lake Road in Tesco because it's not open. People are standing out in the rain. Crikey, they could just let them in, couldn't they? Because apparently, they can't know exactly how long it's going to take. Thank you also, Chris, who said, I've been talking about these for ages. They're called jet drying, and they dry large areas. These are blowers that will dry stuff. Jet drying, there's a thing called JMS, or the company behind it. If you want more information, go to jms.co.uk/services/jet drying. There's a big hoover, reverse hoover, that sticks out the back of a truck, and it dries the road as it goes. And JMS operates 3 of the only vehicle-mounted jet service dryers in the UK using jet aircraft technology. Oh, it's a jet, is it? The dryer can dry up to 1,500 square metres in an hour with a drying path of 2 metres. How much is that going to cost for the TT? Well, it wouldn't be the entire course, would it? It would just be parts of the course. But just away, anyway, jms.co.uk, you can see these jet dryers. Till issues are also affecting Port Erin, apparently, the Tesco in Port Erin. Why not cover the entire TT course with polytunnels so racing can go ahead in all weathers, says Fred. Or give everybody a towel. Let's be honest. If you get 20,000 people with a towel, they can dry... Or maybe not. Victoria Road Tesco too as well. It looks like it's island-wide with Tesco. The tills aren't working. There'll be a very red-faced IT engineer scrabbling under the floorboards. I'm waiting for a reply from Alabama Bank from the 6th of February. Not even an acknowledgement, says 557. Is this total incompetence or just partial? And if you're listening from Alabama Bank, nothing personal, but you are supposed to be offering a service. Let's get to the phones again. Mark's with us now. Hi, Mark.
Hi, Andy.
Sorry, it is Mark. Hi, Mark.
All right, fella.
Yes, Mark.
3 things, just 3 little vignettes for you. Tesco's, it's not just them, it's island-wide, it's also Currys and what have you, and it's to do with cash payments. It's not to do anybody with paying by card, they're fine, because we were all right, but we were told we couldn't use cash in Currys and Tesco's. Secondly, there's a clue in the title, Andy, jet heater. It's called that because it's operated by a jet thing.
Oh, all right, okay.
And finally, my friend, did you know about this Paolo Nutini concert?
Did I know about it?
Yeah.
I think it was the other day it was mooted, wasn't it?
Well, there's nothing in any of the Manx papers. My wife's had a total meltdown this morning because I didn't go and get a ticket for her and I didn't even know he was coming here.
Well, of course, it's your fault.
It's absolutely my fault, mate. I mean, she's already poured me a bottle of wine that I was going to have today to watch the football down the sink. So I'm in the doghouse big style here. But I didn't know he was coming. There's nothing in any of the Manx papers. And you guys certainly didn't mention it.
No, I can't remember. The first, I think I heard about it yesterday because I knew the tickets were going on sale. But it's obviously a kind of... When is the concert, by the way?
I have no idea. That's the problem. But I'll tell you one thing. There'll be a lot of touts who've bought tickets. You're not telling me that, 1,400 tickets, 1,400 tickets have gone that quick that somebody's not block booked them all?
Well, you hope that wouldn't, and surely they could find out if that were happening, wouldn't they? That will be on social media, people trying to sell Paolo Nutini tickets.
Well, I bet you any money you like, Andy, when you finish your show, if you type into manx.net and go onto the for sale sign, the sale items, you mark my words, you'll find there'll be tickets on there. But it'll just be a P.O. box number or a text number or something like that, so you can't really trace the person.
Friday the 2nd of August it is.
2nd of August. See, I mean, that's how popular the guy is. He could probably do a second concert if he wanted to.
Well, it's but amazing. We haven't had any real big concerts lately, have we?
We've got Squeeze coming up.
Well, with the best will in the world, Squeeze have been going for 40-odd years, 45 years. But, I mean, in terms of big names, we've been a bit short on big names at the Villa.
Well, yeah, I agree with you, but again, I don't think Rammstein would fit into the Villa Marina somehow.
True, but, I mean, the thing is that how many people... I know certainly lots and lots of people from the Isle of Man went to see Taylor Swift at various venues around the UK. Now, bearing in mind, I think they did this thing called Taylonomics, where they worked out how much everybody spent to go to a Taylor Swift concert. Outside of the tickets, it was £800.
Yeah,
so
80 quid for a cowboy hat.
Yeah, and so the Isle of Man exports concert goers. Hundreds of people every weekend go across to see concerts. You would have thought there's a way that the government could in some way do this.
Yeah, I agree with you. But the thing is, Andy, you and I now, fella, you and I are at a certain age in our lives now where there's nothing better than putting your feet up on your recliner with a bottle of beer or a bottle of wine, watching Shania Twain at Glastonbury while everybody else has had no sleep for 3 days. And at the end of it, we can go to bed knowing full well we can get up the next day refreshed, have a shower, come down and watch Dua Lipa. Isn't that just the perfect way to be having a weekend?
Who's going to win tonight, Mark?
I'm not English, so I would say England. To be honest with you, Andy, I mean, we're Manx. We can support who the hell we like, but my mother was English, so I am going to go for England. I hope they do it so they can get that monkey of 66 off their back.
All right. Thanks, Mark.
No wonder, fella. Have a good day.
Oh, good to hear from you. And another Mark. I found Mark. Another Mark. Hi, Mark.
Hi there. So I want to speak about this sister dying. So I heard Julie Edge on the radio this morning.
Yeah.
And I do find it a bit irritating, to be honest. She's got the gall, frankly, to say, I'm flabbergasted at the wording of Dr. Allenton to normalise it. Well, it's process. If it's not the normal, then you need to normalise it for people to understand that it's not a bad thing. It's perfectly good wording, but it's a bit hypocritical from someone who can't take the bill seriously when she's interviewed on national television, making a joke out of it, calling it the kill bill. This an elected politician. She needs to take a job seriously. It's a joke.
Where do you stand on assisted dying, Mark?
I'm all for it. I think it's a brilliant thing to humanise the way people end their life when they're in suffering. It's an undeniably good thing. We hear all the time people say about it with animals. You know, if you've got an animal in suffering, at a certain point you go, we can't help this creature anymore, let's put out of its suffering. Why should it be any different for us?
So what would be your, if Julie Edge is listening, what would you say to her?
I would say she needs to get an attitude adjustment, frankly. She keeps going on, I'm going to keep trying for a referendum, keep trying for a referendum. Our constituents aren't being heard. Well, you're a politician. You were elected to be the voice of your constituents. Frankly, her attitude is clearly biased in some respects. I feel like her and Alf Cannon have just got an agenda of trying to repeal until they can get out of office, and they don't have to deal with it because they don't agree with it.
Okay, all right. All right.
But even if they do get this referendum, if it doesn't go their way, they're then going to stop being so stubborn and back down, because I highly doubt they will. I think they're still going to object and do everything they can and go, oh, well, actually, no, it's not good enough. You know, but are they going to be honourable about it? Chris Thomas, another one. The second the referendum was voted against, he was on trying to incite people to come to Tynwald and say, no, we want a voice.
So, I mean, do you're insinuating? I mean, correct me if I'm wrong, but you sound like you're saying that they're playing politics with this.
Yeah, 100%. I think they're playing games because they've got an agenda, and they're not getting their way, so they're twisting it constantly, and I think it's disgusting.
Okay, all right.
This is Zoe Gillings-Breyer, Manx Olympic snowboard athlete. I wanted to wish Manx Radio a very happy 60th birthday.
Thank you, Mark. Good to hear from you. That's it for Mannin Line today. Oh, I was going to ask you about the photos, by the way. Saturday, 3rd of August. Well, actually, Saturday, the weekend of the 2nd, 3rd and 4th, is a Radio Caroline do in Ramsey. Now, if you were around Ramsey in the 1960s, we're looking for photos that maybe of Radio Caroline or people you knew at the time, perhaps, regarding the Essex Girl. Harry Madrill used to captain the Essex Girl and take her out to Radio Caroline. Also, Arthur Corrin's boat, the K Sarah. Anything to do with Radio Caroline, we're looking for listeners and public photos concerning Radio Caroline. Now, get in touch with me. We just want to scan them. Email Andy Wint at manxradio.com. Thanks to Chris Quirk on the phones. Back open line tomorrow.
WINT.
60 years serving you as the nation station. This is Manx Radio.
Kelly's Eye. Brought to you by Ellis Brown Architects.
Peter, what's Kelly's eye looking at today?
Today, David, if I was a raindrop, I would go, wee!
Would you? Well, now, that's interesting. I think we need an explanation for that.
Well, if you look at the roof in front of us,
yes,
it's very low pitch.
Oh, that's right.
It's a corrugated metal.
Yeah.
But it doesn't come down to an eaves with a gutter.
Oh.
It curves.
Yeah.
And so the little raindrop that's landed on the roof comes sliding down, and then suddenly, rather like a water slide, he goes wee, and then straight down over the edge and then into the gutter, which is about 3 foot down on the front of the building.
Well, when it's wet, we'll have to come here and listen to them.
Well, yeah, you can. Well, we're looking at a commercial building. It was designed about 1985, and I think it was one of the first buildings of its type on the island to have this wraparound roof. This is on South Quay in Douglas, where we've got 2 of the original Georgian houses left, and only 2. Where this now stands was a continuation of that Georgian terrace.
Yes.
And in fact, of course, it went the other way past the bridge and towards Lee Terrace. Next door is a rather plain industrial building which was built on the site of the Lairds. Remember when they shipped cattle away, they kept them in a confined here corral. This, from recollection, was designed by Gelling Hughes, and it was a car showroom.
Ah, that accounts for the very large picture windows, isn't it?
Indeed. But it's no longer a car showroom. It's been recycled already in such a short lifetime. But now at one end it says Plum Centre, so it must be a fruit shop, and on the other, Parts Centre. I'm surprised that somebody doesn't pull this down and start to put up apartments, which are certainly appearing everywhere else. But
well, the 2 older properties there look rife for that, don't they?
Well, they do.
Short walk to Athol Street, of course, provided you don't get run over by the massive amount of traffic now around this corner.
Oh no, Bruce Hannay will get rid of the traffic, don't worry about that.
Many of the most iconic buildings around the island have been designed by Ellis Brown Architects. Keep up with Ellis Brown today on Facebook or via ellisbrown.im.
Part of island life for 60 years. This is your Manx Radio.
Radio Caroline North broadcast from the MV Caroline in Ramsey Bay from 1964 to 1968. And across the first weekend in August, Ramsey's back in the 60s with vintage vehicles and live 60s music. And on Saturday the second, an evening of the illustrated history of Caroline North and South with historians Andy Wint and Ray Clark, when the original Caroline Bell will be displayed. Tickets for the evening are £10, available at manxradio.com, and all proceeds go to support the Ross Revenge Dry Dog Appeal charity. The Caroline North weekend is August the 2nd to 4th with Radio Caroline Live at Home and Manx Radio.